unlock your creativity, and steal like an artist. A quote: "She rescued me. I'd be playing in a steakhouse right now if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't even be playing in a steakhouse. I would be cooking in a steakhouse." Right. So this is just a really simple quote that this particular book that I'm going to be talking to you about today is sharing. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, and it's really old. I mean, it's at least 10 years old. Let me check. Let me check. So, the idea about this, so I'll tell you the book. It's called Steal Like an Artist, and it's by Austin Kleon. Austin Kleon was one of few artists that I found online which were doing some amazing work. He was doing something called blackout poetry. So he would find out newspaper clippings, and then he would just black out parts of the newspaper, and the rest of the remaining stuff, remaining words from that newspaper clipping became the poetry. And it was really cool to kind of read, and really cool concept which he was doing for a very long time. And then also at the same time, he was one of the few people at the beginning of the internet who embraced it and took it as a way to showcase their art, their process behind the art, and really make it engaging with the audience. So one of the initial creators that kind of came up on the internet. There was not a lot of video back then, so it was majorly through his blog, and of course, like, through his photos, which is like the newspaper blackout photo series, and of course just whatever sketching and stuff, doodling that he would do, which you can see in the book as well. So the book is very, it's done like a sketchbook. It's done like a sketchbook, so it's pretty cool that way. And these are all things that he's hand drawn, and then he's essentially scanned it up to put it in the book. So it's really cool that way. And he has this last, so I'm just going to quickly go through it. So he has at the end, this is essentially his back page of the book, where he's written down the 10 points that he's covering in the book, and then we go deeper into the book, each one. So first one is steal like an artist. This is the premise of the entire book, that you steal like an artist. And there's a great quote by Steve Jobs, someone that I really admire, someone that I personally love, is that good artists copy, great artists steal. Now, everyone has their own interpretation of it. Everyone has their different ways to look at it. How I look at it is very simple, which is when you just copy, you're not putting your own mind to it. You're not putting your own spin to it. You're literally just putting like a butter paper on top and then tracing out stuff. So you're not really using your own creativity on top of what you're trying to get. But when you steal, when you get inspired by something that really speaks to you, you take that, and that something could be from someone else, right? It does not matter who it's coming from. It could be an artwork, it could be a business idea, it could be a startup idea, it could be a book idea, it could be just a phrase, just the title, things like this. But you get inspired through it, and then you put your own twist, your own angle, your own addition, right? Or subtraction, whatever works. So, and that creates that magic, that creates that uniqueness to it. And that's why it's called stealing, because now once you've added your own twist, you're not plagiarizing, um, you're actually paying homage to that body of work that kind of inspired you, and you're building on top of it. So you're essentially remixing all of it and putting it back together in a new way, which is essentially what most of the content, most of the art, most of everything that we kind of see around us is, right? It's always a remix. There's no 100% new idea. There are always the ideas that we like and we that kind of go viral are always ideas that are old ideas, but with a new twist, with a new addition, with a new angle to it, with a new way of looking at things but it's not like completely new as well, because completely new things also scare us as humans. So we need something familiar from the past, something that we know, something we kind of resonate with already, and then we need like a new twist to it, a new angle to it. So it's usually much easier when you think about it in this way, and it's a great mental model as well, that you should not really, you know, innovation within boundaries. So innovate something that is already there, but with the new twist of the new technology or the new culture that is coming around, or something else. So that's essentially what fashion is as well, right? We're still wearing the same kind of clothes. It's the same shirt, it's the same pants, it's the same skirts. But every time a new fashion designer comes, it's their way of interpreting that particular clothing, right? So how do they make that shirt? Do they change the fit of the shirt, or do they change the color of the shirt, or do they change something else within that shirt, right? So all of those things make it super cool. So they're not copying someone else, they're essentially stealing or borrowing from the people that came before them, which is essentially standing on the shoulder of the giants, and then building upon it with their own creativity, with their own ideas, right? So that's what Austin is talking about over here. And it's again a beautiful one. Again, I'm just gonna speak to you about different quotes. He's really found out beautiful quotes over here, so I'm just gonna speak to you on a couple of them. Immature poets imitate, mature poets steal, bad poets deface what they take, and good poets make it into something better, or at least something different. The good poet welds his theft into a whole feeling which is unique, utterly different from that from which it was torn. This is by T.S. Eliot, right? So immature poets imitate, so you're essentially copying, but mature poets, they steal. They get inspired. They create a different feel to it. They don't make you feel that they've stolen something. They make you feel that this is completely new and different. So, perfect. Another one. The only art I'll ever study is the stuff that I can steal from. So, what he says over here is that nothing is original. Nothing is original, right? So, you essentially, there is nothing original in this world. Everything is a remix, something that is building upon the stuff that has come behind us. And there is always something or the other that kind of, that you can build upon, that you can create on. So nothing is original, and you need to create a bank of stuff which really inspires you, which you can steal from, which is called essentially a swipe file, which we'll cover in a couple of further things, right? So you essentially pick up things. You need to just have a really good taste. You build that taste, build that high standards of consuming the right things, or at least filtering out the right things, and then you go back to those, get inspired, take something from it, build on it, and share it with the world, right? Nice. So that's first. Second, don't wait until you know who you are to get started. So again, I'm not going to take you through all of the 10 topics and points. This is not again, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is what I learned from it. So that's what Steal Like an Artist really inspired me to do. So one is that I should not wait for me to get ready to get started, because that's a fallacy. Even now, the videos that I'm making, I'm not really proud of them. I'm not really comfortable with them, with the medium, but the whole idea is to get started, put in the hours, put in the effort, put in the kind of get awkward initially, so that later on, once I've put in the effort, once I've iterated enough times, it kind of builds the momentum and it keeps me going. So this is the third in the series, and I'm sure I am going to be making a lot more pretty soon. So it's just going to compound over time, and I'm going to get better, and it's going to get better over time, right? My content is going to get better over time, because I'm not waiting that, hey, like, I will get ready, and when I get ready, I'll start. I'm not doing that. I am starting first. I know what I want to do. I'm starting first, and I'm gonna get comfortable as I start pushing out these videos out, and then get feedback and iterate on that, right? So do not wait until you know who you are, or until you feel that you are ready. You should rather just start. And the process of starting, the process of putting stuff out, the process of actually interacting with the world around you, and the world, what the world means, again, different people can, for different people it can be different things, but the world essentially means, if you're an artist, then you're interacting with an audience. If you're a startup founder, then you're interacting with your customers. If you're a teenager, then you're interacting with the world around you, which could be exams, which could be schools, which could be parents, all of these different stakeholders in your life that matter to you, that have an influence on your life, and yet you need to balance your own individuality amongst that, right? So all of that becomes really important. So that's why this is again a very important book, because once you understand the concepts behind this book, it really simplifies the way that you think about work. Because in a traditional sense, when you look at schools, we've always been told that there's going to be an exam at the end, and so you need to prepare and get ready beforehand. But in real life, that happens once in a while, right? If you're an Olympic athlete, then probably you have like this massive event, which is like a whatever world level event, where you need to perform at your peak, and so that becomes your exam, and you have to prepare all before it. But on a day-to-day basis, right, as a teacher, there's no exam. I'm never gonna have like this one big exam that I'm preparing for, right? All of that is behind me. And similarly, if I'm at a job, uh, I'm not gonna have like, this one big yearly exam which I need to pass in order to get ahead. No, it's always constant. They're looking at me regularly. Every 3 months, they're gonna check in that, hey, is this guy actually doing the work or not? Is this guy on time or not? Is this guy actually speaking to people politely or not? And so on and so forth, right? All of these things add up, and they kind of, it's like a continuous assessment that a company does, that a culture does, that a community does. So that's why. So do not wait until you get ready. Start, get into the process, get feedback, iterate, and that will make you better and better and better over time. Next is side projects and hobbies are important, right? So this is something that I realized, that you never know how these things would come about. Side projects and hobbies, these are things that really, really fulfill you, and at the same time make you a more holistic person, um, while making sure that you are still not getting deviated from your focus. So say your focus right now is studies, so that becomes like your entire focus, but your brain cannot just be working on that, and because that essentially, you need to rest, you need to find some time for yourself as well. And in order to do that, you need to engage yourself in different things. Now, it could be games. That means you play soccer, you play football, you play, I don't know what, you play badminton, all of these things you play with your friends. That's a great way to kind of come around, and kind of ease your brain. Or you take part in hobbies, right? You create, uh, I don't know, you cook, you read, you dance, you can um, go for hikes. All of these become hobbies and interests and passions that fulfill you overall. Put put in more energy as you do these activities, so that all of that energy can then be pushed into work again, right? So they fill your cup again, so that you're able to give more from your cup to the work that you really desperately want to do and move forward on. um, so that's the idea, that's the idea behind this, that side projects and hobbies are really important. At the one for making you a better person, a more holistic person, and two, to actually sharpen your skills, right? So if I'm thinking, you never know how and what skills might be useful, right? Um, sometimes as a teacher I might need cooking skills, right? I mean, it's a very weird way to put it, but what if I have to go on like a hiking trip with the students and I need cooking skills to just cook food for everyone, right? So it's a very weird way to put it, but there are unforeseen circumstances where you might need skills that might come in handy, and they could come in handy directly from your hobbies, right? So that's a very weird example that I gave you, but it's true that there are skills that are interchangeable between hobbies and your work, and it's good to learn those skills in a non-work space, and really, again, build yourself whole, as a human, a better human, a stronger human, a nicer human, and so on. Now, the secret, according to Austin, is quite simple: that do good work and then share it with people. Which makes sense, which makes complete logical sense. It's super simple, and yeah, I mean, it's very straightforward. I don't even have to kind of read out to you again, but I'll still try. I'll see. There's like this really cool, again, these quotes that he has. I want to read a couple of them to you, here and there. So yeah, so it's like this. It's a two-step process. Step one: do good work, is incredibly hard. There are no shortcuts. Make stuff every day. Know you're going to suck for a while. Fail, get better. Step two: share it with people. Step two: share it with people was really hard up until about 10 years ago or so. Now it's very simple. Put your stuff on the internet. So he's talking, again, as I said, this is quite an old book, when it was first published, and this is like a older version. But that's the idea, that you do the good work. You take your time, you do the good work. It will be difficult, it will be mind bending, it will be, it will take a lot of your effort and discipline to that you need to put in, and then share it with people. And earlier, sharing it with people was difficult. There was actual money that had to be spent on it, but now you can do it through social media. Just click a photo, put it up, make a video, put it up. Again, it's very low effort, but a very high leverage activity. You put in very less effort, comparatively, but the returns of it could be outsized. You could just, I mean, there might be one person that cares about your videos, that cares about your photos, who might be able to change your life, who might give you the deal of your lifetime, who might give you the chance of your lifetime, the break of your lifetime. And again, different professions, different things that they might need. So, but yeah, you just never know who's looking, and that's the fun of it, and that's also the uncertainty of it. But yeah, you have to keep going. Um, so yeah, that's one way. Now, I understand that a lot of people worry about stealing, and earlier in my career, I was also worried about all of these things. But this book again helped me with that, just overcome these mental blocks that I face at times. Don't worry about people stealing your ideas. This is a quote from it, from the book. Don't worry about people stealing your ideas. If your ideas are any good, you'll have to ram them down people's throats. Right? This is by Howard Aiken, and what I got from it is, even good ideas need to be sold. Right? They need to be presented in a way. They need to be, proposed in a way that people understand them, digest them, and actually act upon them. So it's not easy. You can't just imagine that one good idea will change your life completely. That may happen, but it will happen only when you put the effort behind it. And that effort could be making a video, making, the scripts, the sales process, the actual presentation of that idea in front of the right people, and all of those stuff and steps. And when you take, only then do you see the results at the end of the tunnel. So that's one way to go about it. Now, next is be boring, something that I really, again, with Jim Rohn and his ideas, it's really have kind of impacted me in this way. But it simply means be boring. It's the only way to get work done. So be boring. It's the only way to get work done. What it means is simply that there are certain activities, there will be 4 or 5 activities, a handful of activities, which will give you outsized returns, right? So for me as a teacher, it's teaching, right? Teaching could be to a class, teaching could be to create these videos. And these, when I keep doing them again and again, day in and day out, that creates outsized returns for me. And that's boring, right? After a point, after 3 days I'll get bored, 4 days I'll get bored, 10 days I'll get bored, 1 month I will be bored, right? I will be talking, I'm sitting in this room all alone, talking to literally a screen, looking at myself. It's weird, I feel weird, I'm talking to myself, I'm blabbering, I'm doing a lot of horrifying mistakes. But that is the way work is done. You just need to do that. You just need to show up and keep showing up. Do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and it will come through, right? One day it will give the returns that you're looking for. So it's as simple as that. Just be boring and don't be afraid of being bored, right? So it's just gonna be true. It's just gonna be true. Another cool question that again that comes from this, and this could be relevant to you, this could be very early for you, but he says it right, and I can say from experience now that this is true, that marrying well really changes your trajectory of life. Again, it's one of those things that if that one big decision does not go right, it can go bad in a lot of ways, right? It can hamper your health, it can hamper your work, it can hamper your relationships, it can hamper your state of being, your lifestyle, everything. But if it goes well, that means if you do marry well, if you have a strong relationship and a healthy relationship, it makes everything else that much more beautiful, fruitful, amazing, and so on, right? So you come out of it more energized, you have more focus for your work, you earn more, you're more happy with your relationships as well as your relationships with other people and yourself. So you have more self-confidence and self-esteem. You have someone to talk to at all points, someone who intimately knows you, and you both become a team to the outside world, right? So all of that really matters, right? Again, as a student, you may not be able to resonate with that right now. As a teenager, it may be very far-fetched, but think about it. Think about it from your first relationship, from your second relationship, whichever stage you're at. Think about it. Is this the person that is helping me in my life, or is this the person who's bringing me down, right? And that will give you a good sense of how that relationship is going and which way it should be heading, like, or the decision that you need to take. But yes, do marry well. It's part of being boring, and it is, again, gives outsized results, outsized results, outsized uh, benefits, you can't even comprehend. It's just not possible. The last one that Austin talks about is creativity is subtraction. Um, as much content that we have today, when you create something, when you create even a single piece of video, there's beauty in the subtraction of it as well. That means what you choose to put and what you choose to not put are equally important, if not more. Right? So both of them are equally important. What you choose to put, that means what you choose to actually showcase in your work, and what you choose not to showcase, not to talk about, not to share about. Both of them equally impact. And why is that important is because the there is a reason, like when you remove certain aspects of it from your psyche, from your creativity, from your project, you're forced to think differently onto that page, onto that video, onto that creation that you're trying to do, right? And that pushes you to, become more interesting, more creative, more. It kind of gives you this box that you've created yourself, right? No one else has imposed it on you. You've created for yourself, but you now have to, fill it with the most interesting thing that you can think of. And that happens when you decide ki, hey, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to talk about relationships, or I don't want to talk about health. But when those topics come, you still have to add a slight twist. You add another new example, right? So this is a little abstract, becomes a little difficult to comprehend as well. But you do have to choose what to leave out, right? That's what Austin also says, that you have to choose what to leave out, because you cannot do everything, you cannot add everything. You have to, based on time, based on resources, based on money, based on energy, based on all of these variables and parameters that you need to take care of. You have to choose your boundaries, right? That what are the things that I can actually put in, what are the things that I cannot. And that things that you put in showcases your creativity, because then you have to be resourceful with those things, right? Telling yourself that you have all the time in the world, all the money in the world, all the colors in the palette, anything you want, that just kills creativity. And this is by Jack White. Telling yourself you have all the time in the world, all the money in the world, all the colors in the palette, anything you want, all of that just kills creativity. It just doesn't allow you to be resourceful, right? And yeah, that's kind of it. That's the fun part of it. So he's kind of given sub parts of it very quickly, so I'm just going to read them through. Take a walk, start your swipe file. Swipe file is where you put in all of your inspiration, things that you want to steal from, right? Start your swipe file. Go to the library, right? Go to the library, get inspired by other things, interesting things, different things. Don't be stuck up in a bubble. Buy a notebook and use it. Use a journal, make a journal, put your thoughts down, capture everything that comes to your head that you think can be useful, right? Write it as a third person, write it as if you're talking to a third person. Why is that? Because when you look back and come back to it, there is a really good chance that you won't remember the context. So there is a really good chance that you'll essentially be the third person in that conversation between you and the page, right? So when you get a journal and when you write your ideas down, write it as if you're teaching it to someone else, so that whenever you come back, right, it could be 1 year back later, it could be 30 years later, whenever you come back, you can still grasp that idea as it is, and you don't have to worry about the context that it was written in. Get yourself a calendar. A calendar is just to make sure and keep a track of your progress. That's the boring part, that you're doing, you're creating that video every day, you're putting in the hours to study every day, and so on. Start your logbook. Logbook is again the same thing, that you know, just write down what all did you do throughout the day, and you keep checking it every Saturday, every Sunday. You check on it. What have you done, and was it good enough or not? Give a copy of this book away. No, of course, this is something that he wants us to do, but it is also a really good way to do it. Give a copy of this book away. Why is that? So that you can actually discuss it with people. What I'm doing right now with you over this video, right? That discussion will make these concepts even come alive further, more practical, and you will be actually able to implement them in your life. Start a blog, a place where you can put yourself out there. So again, he's talking about a blog in an age of YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. So still makes, yeah, you know, makes you realize how old it is, but it's still relevant. You can still, and you should still probably start a website where, you know, it's like one place in the internet, one corner of the internet that's yours. And take a nap. Keep taking naps in between so that you recharge your energy. And yeah, that's kind of it. It's a beautiful book. It's a tiny book. It's pretty thin. It has big fonts, a lot of empty pages with like cool doodles and stuff. So yeah, go get this book. It's going to be really helpful, a really foundational book for you. Keep going back to it. All of the books that I'm talking about are books that I refer back. I don't just, you know, they're not just there to watch, but I try to keep going back to them every year, at least once every year, so that I, you know, take in more ideas, take in the same ideas, implement them in a better way in my own life. And that's the fun of it. That's the fun of a book, right? So yeah, tell me which book would you want me to cover next, and follow me along for more of such books on productivity, on entrepreneurship, on startups. And yeah, I'll be again there with you for the next video pretty soon. See you.